Tell all you love that you love them so, because even if you do, they might not know, and one day we'll all be gone. Taste the wind, don't let it blow on by. Sing songs of love, let the music get you high, and when it's said and done, you'll know the sun will shine.
If I were homeless, how would I feel if Albuquerque cops or city workers stole and threw away my important personal papers, my photos, my ID, my blankets? How would I feel if I were homeless and suffered like that? I left strong voicemail messages for Mayor Tim Keller and for Police Chief Harold Medina. I damned cops and city workers throwing away important personal papers and IDs of homeless people. I asked the mayor, I asked the police chief, how would you feel if cops and city workers threw away your important personal papers? I have called our U.S. Senators Martin Heinrich and Ben Ray Lujan and our Congresswoman Melanie Stansberry many times. I strongly condemn the U.S. murder of many thousands of Palestinian kids, women, men in Gaza since October 7th. If you and I care about our Palestinian sisters and brothers, how can we say nothing to our government as the United States turns Gaza into hell? I have paid no federal income tax for 44 years, not with my silence, not with my money. The U.S. genocide in Gaza. How much would you enjoy having a luxury car if your lungs are shot from many years of smoking 2 packs a day? How much would you enjoy having a souped-up lowrider if you're suffering diabetes, dialysis, amputated legs because of many years of eating sugar shit and refusing to exercise? How much would you enjoy a $1 million mansion if you're dying of liver disease because of many years drinking booze? How much would you enjoy having the most money in your family and your community if you would always wonder how many of your relatives, how many of your neighbors would still be as friendly to you if you did not have all that money? Do they love you or hope you will give them some of your money? Many millionaires, many billionaires suffering severe sickness would give all their money if they could have a healthy body. A person with a healthy body, some close friends, and enough money for nutritious food and a small, decent shelter is far richer than any millionaire, any billionaire in a very sick body. Many kids have imaginary friends they talk to, especially if they have few real playmates. Many kids have imaginary friends they talk to, especially if they suffer everyday constant hell at home. Many adults have their imaginary friend, God, in the heavens. Many adults pour out their hearts, their whole lives to this imaginary friend, God. They pray for help in many serious situations. If their imaginary friend, God, in the heavens, does not help them, these sincere believers will defend their imaginary friend God with all kinds of excuses. It was not God's will. God is testing my faith. In the next life after death, I will understand why God chose not to do what I prayed for. Many excuses why God, their imaginary friend, did not help them in desperate situations. In many places, for hundreds of years, I could have been tortured, I could have been locked up, I could have been killed by a mob of believers of whatever religion for saying this publicly as I am now. I humbly confess, I was a sincere young Christian preacher 57 years ago, first in Virginia, then in Sterling, Illinois. For many years, I publicly prayed to, preached about, sang about this imaginary friend, God, in the heavens. With much help from many people, I slowly woke up to my religious fantasy, my delusion. At special family meals, my grandparents called on me when I was a young man to pray the blessing before we ate. I am no longer a believer in this imaginary friend in the heavens. I regret, I apologize for advertising this make-believe imaginary friend, God. And don't get me wrong, I wish we had a fair, loving, all-powerful, real parent God who helped all who desperately pray for help. But I refuse to swallow and advertise feel-good make-believe. I want truth. African American Colin Powell was very high in the U.S. military and the U.S. government. And sadly, Colin Powell had the blood on his hands of millions of people in the Vietnam War, the Gulf War against Iraq, and the later U.S. war against Iraq under George W. Bush. Colin Powell grew up in New York City, and many of his neighborhood's kids became violent street gang members. Many gang members died on the streets, and they killed on the streets. Many gang members went to prison. But the awful, sad, bloody truth is Colin Powell was heavily involved in the blinding, the crippling, the murder of far more human beings than all those violent street gang members combined. But because Colin Powell did it as a big shot in the U.S. military and U.S. government, millions consider Colin Powell a success, a hero, a model of African American achievement. Does anyone in U.S. mainstream newspapers, radio, or TV say this, what I just said about Colin Powell? Sadly, most of them, the newspapers, the radio news, the TV news, most of them are addicted to the U.S. war machine. No one is born evil. Colin Powell was not born a war criminal, but sadly he became a war criminal step by step as many people cheered him on. Many white U.S. presidents and generals are also war criminals. Sadly, Colin Powell celebrated black people being accepted and promoted in the most violent gang in the United States, the U.S. military. For thousands of years, all empires celebrate when former victims of the empire become accomplices in the empire's atrocities. Sadly, that has happened for many Native Americans, African Americans, from victims of the empire to accomplices in the empire's atrocities. Why would any mother, any father, want their teenage son to beat up and bruise and bloody another male teenager as a boxer? Why would any mother, any father want their teenage daughter to beat up, bruise, and bloody another female teenager as a boxer? Why would any mother, any father cheer and celebrate their teenage son or daughter inflicting pain and injuries on another teenager? Why would any mother, any father be proud of their son or daughter for being a boxer? Why would any mother, any father be ashamed of their teenage son giving and receiving body pleasure in sex with a male teenage friend? Why would any mother, any father be ashamed of their teenage daughter giving and receiving body pleasure in sex with a teenage female friend? Why would any mother, any father damn their teenage son making his teenage buddy's body feel good? Why would any mother, any father damn their teenage daughters making her teenage female friend's body feel good? I damn all boxing for males or females. I damn all boxing for all ages. I celebrate affectionate sexual pleasure wanted and enjoyed by male teenagers with each other. I celebrate affectionate sexual pleasure wanted and enjoyed by female teenagers with each other. I damn all violent sports, football, mixed martial arts, boxing. An estimated $1 million or more in lifetime costs per person connected to smoking cigarettes. The cost of the cigarettes for a lifetime and the huge medical bills for treating the lung cancer, the heart disease, many other awful conditions caused by smoking cigarettes. Of all 50 states, New Mexico has the highest rate of deaths connected to damn booze. Booze kills far more people, percentage-wise, in New Mexico than in any other state. Twice the national average from drunk driving and illnesses caused and made worse by booze. Twice the national average people killed by booze in New Mexico. I drink no booze. And I urge all community leaders, I urge all athletes, all musicians, to pledge publicly to drink no booze the rest of their lives. As we get older, sometimes it gets harder to hold our piss and our shit. A simple exercise we can do anytime, anywhere we are awake can greatly help. Squeeze and release our asshole muscle 30, 50 or more times, several times a day. Or squeeze our asshole muscle tight for a minute or two before releasing. Filthy rich big shots in corporations and government are not the only cause of war, not the only cause of the climate crisis and the suffering of hundreds of millions who are sick and hungry with no home. Sadly, millions of low and middle income parents would be glad, they would celebrate if their son or daughter became a filthy rich big shot in corporations or government. Sadly, millions of low and middle income people would be glad to become a millionaire or a billionaire. So the root of the problem is not just capitalism, not just the filthy rich. The root is greed. Always wanting more, much more than we need. I enjoy living simply and healthy, well below the U.S. poverty level for me as a single person. I treasure movies that cause me to cry, movies that cause me to live better, movies with deep feelings. If a movie has no tears in the movie or in the audience watching, I'm not interested in seeing it unless it's a documentary. Sadly, most movies are like serving poison, rotten garbage on gold platters. The gold platters are excellent acting, well-designed sets, beautiful scenery, but the message of most movies, their content is violent or shallow, or both violent and shallow. Most movies are shit. Actually, worse than shit, because at least shit can be used as fertilizer. Sadly, most movies are nothing uplifting, nothing inspiring, nothing life-changing. All romantic relationships, all friendships, all marriages have ups and downs, serious problems, difficult hurdles. But if you and your marriage partner are both miserable most of the time for months or years in your marriage, and if you've tried marriage counseling, set yourselves free. No matter what your religion says about divorce, no matter what your families and friends say, if you're both miserable most of the time for months or years in your marriage, and if you've tried marriage counseling, set yourselves free. No matter the promises, the vows you both made when you did not know better. No matter if you have kids. Do your kids like the emotional war of screams, curses, threats, or what can be just as bad, the icy silence they suffer between the two of you? Drinking booze will not heal your broken dreams. Booze makes a bad marriage worse. Buying lots of expensive crap you do not need will not heal your broken heart, your broken marriage. Hogging out on sweet shit, ice cream, candy, cake, sodas, cookies, will never satisfy your deep desire for affectionate, passionate sex and romance in life. If your marriage constantly feels like slavery, like prison, if your marriage feels like prison and slavery most of the time, set yourselves free. And do not blame the hell all on your partner. Do not stay together because you're afraid of being alone. Do not stay together because you're afraid you will never find somebody else for romance. Do not stay together so you can live in your bigger place with more money. Far better to live peaceably in a much smaller place with just enough money for your basic needs than to live in a mansion making each other miserable. My mother and my dad were miserable cellmates until death in the prison of marriage. Very hard on both of them. My dad became a workaholic. My mother became severely addicted to sugar and to buying much small stuff she did not need. If I had been my mother, I do not know how I could have coped being married to my dad. And if I had been my dad, I do not know how I could have coped being married to my mother. I wish my mother and my father had parted peacefully or had never married. Some couples become better friends after they no longer live together. In a letter from my longtime close friend Chester, now 87, he wrote, "With the 2011 prostate cancer diagnosis, I was reading many books and web articles on cancer, and there learned that a protein in milk, casein, promotes the growth of prostate cancer cells." Chester says, "I haven't touched the stuff in any form since. Casein is also fed to experimental animals in cancer research studies, since it can accelerate the cancer growth, and the researchers want the process to move along quickly for their research and study purposes. Casein, which is a major part of cow's milk, protein, makes all cancers, prostate cancer and other cancers, grow faster. It doesn't necessarily cause cancer, but if you have it in any part of your body and it's dormant, it's kind of just staying there not doing much. Drinking cow's milk, eating ice cream from cow's milk, eating cottage cheese from cow's milk, cheese from cow's milk, can make the cancer grow faster at every stage. I consume no cow's milk in any form. Most of the poison chemical pesticides most people in the United States consume come from eating meat, cheese, ice cream, and drinking milk. Because when the cows, the pigs, the chickens eat crops that were sprayed with poison chemical pesticides, those poison chemical pesticides, those poison chemicals concentrate in the animal's meat, milk, and when people eat the meat, ice cream, cheese, eggs, and drink the milk, they get a concentrated dose of poison chemicals, usually without knowing it. The further up the food chain, the more chemicals concentrate. If we eat no meat, no dairy, only plant foods, we avoid most of the poison chemical pesticides most people in this country eat. Having a fat belly lowers the sex hormone testosterone. Booze and cigarettes lower the sex hormone testosterone. Soy can lower the sex hormone testosterone. I eat no soy. I drink no booze. I smoke no cigarettes. I do not eat the junk food. I do not drink the booze that makes fat bellies. Why pay those filthy rich companies to lower my sex hormone, testosterone, and to slowly kill me? Living tomorrow is not guaranteed to you or me or anyone on earth. But to hear some people talk about their plans for the future, what they're going to do next month or in 2 years or in 10 years, they seem to assume they will be alive. How foolish. When talking about something in the future, I often say, if I'm alive and able, or I aim to do, or I hope to, or I plan to, because no one on earth, young or old or in between, can say for sure about their future. Our lives can change, our lives can end in an instant when we least expect it. Death sometimes comes like a thief. If I'm healthy in body and mind, I aim to live and love passionately until the day I die. Would a marathon runner want to slow down as he or she gets closer to the finish line? And if I'm healthy in body and mind, why would I want to slow down as an activist against war, against paying federal income tax for war. An activist for living simply, for living healthy, for gay liberation, for naked body freedom. If I'm healthy in body and mind, why would I want to slow down as an activist as I get closer to the finish line, my death, whether that's tomorrow or 25 years from now? I have not traveled outside New Mexico since 1994, over 29 years, when I came back from my dad's funeral in Illinois. I've owned no car for 44 years, and I would not keep a car if given to me free and if I were paid to drive it. I ride city buses, but I walk a lot. And since the hit and run I suffered May 16th, occasionally I ride in someone's car. But before that, I hadn't ridden in any car for 22 years. Riding city buses and walking a lot, healthier for my body and for our very sick Mother Earth. If all of our hundreds of millions of desperately poor sisters and brothers on earth could and would fly in planes and drive cars like millions of people in the United States, the climate crisis and the Earth's environment would be far worse than it is now. In the 1960s, 1970s, 1980s, early 1990s, I drove my only car I ever owned and my parents' cars, and I rode in buses and trains many thousands of miles, including protests in New York City and Washington, D.C. When we have loved ones who live hundreds or thousands of miles away from where we live, we want to spend time with them. But the harm to Mother Earth, the worsening of the climate crisis, is the same for every mile we fly or we drive, if we're going to visit our loved ones in another state, or if we're going to a damn gambling casino in Las Vegas, Nevada. Sure, I would enjoy seeing Spain. I would enjoy seeing India. I would enjoy many places in the world and meeting a great variety of people in those other countries. But who gave me, Don Schrader, the right to travel as much as I want to? Who gave me the right to travel as much as my money and time allow? In a world where the worsening climate crisis is hell for many millions of poor people around the world, who gave us the right to make people now and in the future suffer and to kill them so we can travel thousands of miles for our pleasure? How bad will the climate crisis have to become until most educated liberals here break their addiction to long-distance travel, especially in cars and in planes? How bad will the climate crisis have to become until most educated middle and upper income liberals stop bragging about how many states, how many nations they've traveled to? Long distance travel, especially by planes and cars, is a deadly addiction, terribly unfair to billions now living and billions to come if the human family survives. With much help, I broke my addiction to eating sugar shit, meat, dairy, junk food, cooked food, and with much help, I broke my addiction to long-distance travel. With much help, we can change our lives, our ways. We can wake up to live more fairly in our over 7 billion human family. When will progressive organizations, when will peace and justice groups, when will environmental organizations stop having committee meetings and conferences with people flying and driving thousands of miles to attend? Many years ago in our Illinois farm home, I was writing at my desk late one evening, and my mother told me, "Why don't you go to bed and get up and do this in the morning when your mind is fresh?" She was right, and often our minds work during the night when we're asleep to see things in a different way the next day. And going to bed every night 1 hour earlier than before can help some people feel less depressed. If you're used to going to bed every night at 11, start going to bed at 10 and see if it helps your depression. Or even between 9 and 10, as I usually do. Hour for hour, the hours we sleep before midnight benefit us more than the hours we sleep after midnight. I like to go to bed almost every night between 9 and 10 and to get up at 6 or so in the morning. Nothing can substitute for getting enough sleep every night if we want to be healthy, if we want to feel good. Sadly, the United States and other nations have tortured prisoners by keeping them awake, not letting them sleep. If you've not made any babies, and if you care about saving the environment, our only home, Mother Earth, if you want to slow the climate crisis, I urge you not to produce any kids. If you already have produced kids, I urge you to be an example to your kids of enjoying living simply and healthy every day on far less than most people in the United States. How to live much more fairly in our world family of over 7 billion sisters and brothers, and enjoy living on enough for many reasons. I'm glad I produced no kids. If you want to help kids, help those already in this world who are not loved, not cared for, not wanted. Adopt or foster parent kids already here who greatly need loving adults. Theodore Taylor designed bombs, but he became a strong activist years later against nuclear bombs. He woke up, he changed. Theodore Taylor says, soon after I reported for work at the Los Alamos laboratory in November 1949, I showed symptoms of an addictive disease. I became fascinated with the inner workings of nuclear explosives. My mother and my wife asked how could I work on anything designed to kill as many people as possible. Theodore Taylor, who had designed bombs and became an activist against nuclear bombs, said, I have engaged in self-deception. He deceived himself to feed my addiction. And I realized that my wife and mother had been right all along. For 25 years, he says, it has troubled me deeply that my country is prepared to kill millions of innocent people in retaliation to acts committed by a few insane leaders. I therefore say to anyone who will listen, say no to all nuclear weapons, or expect one way or another to lose your humanity. And I urge every man and woman at Los Alamos weapons labs and at Sandia weapons labs who are dedicating their brains to mass murder. I urge you to wake up as Theodore Taylor did. We can change our crazy ways, our evil ways. All of the healthy raw plant foods and healthy herbs I eat every day will never make my own teeth grow back. Sadly, my natural teeth are gone forever, largely because of my severe addiction to sugar shit, ice cream, cake, cookies, candy, the first 30 years of my life. And all of the healthy raw plant foods and healing herbs I eat every day will never make my large hernia go away. I do not want to bullshit myself on anything. I want to face the truth, even when I don't like it. Eating my healthy raw plant foods and healing herbs, getting enough exercise, sunshine, sleep, eating no junk food, no meat, no dairy, can keep me from getting fat. I hope to stay lean until I die. I love to live lean and healthy. I wish every bartender, I wish every booze maker, every booze seller, I wish every trucker delivering booze, every community leaders celebrating new local breweries had seen the man who came up to me some time ago. He begged me to give him alcohol. He was desperately sick because of booze. I didn't give him alcohol, but he was just desperately sick because of the damn booze. I wish every musician who sings songs in Spanish and in English about tequila or other booze would stop and never sing those words again. The tunes can be beautiful. The message is poison, evil, crap. I told that man I drink no booze and I would not give booze to anyone. Booze is slow poison. I wish every bartender, everybody connected with selling, serving booze, singing about booze, would see what my close friend had suffered with his 41-year-old daughter. She is severely alcoholic, in and out of jail, the past 9 years, seriously mentally ill. And sadly, many social drinkers end up sick, lonely, alcoholics, dying young. I drink no booze. More than 14,000 scientists in many nations have condemned world leaders for not taking action on the main causes of the climate crisis and the worsening climate emergency. And these more than 14,000 scientists from many nations say stop the use of fossil fuels, gas, oil, coal, greatly reduce chemicals poisoning the environment, bring back the natural plants and animals destroyed in many places, switch what we eat away from meat and dairy to mainly foods from plants. These more than 14,000 scientists from many nations say stop the population explosion of humans. No more total human beings alive in the future than are living now on Earth. These more than 14,000 scientists from many nations say the Earth's environment is getting much sicker and faster than ever before. All schools need to teach students about the worsening climate crisis they face in their lives. And schools need to teach the kids what we each can and must do to slow the climate crisis. We can't stop it. But if we wake up and change our ways, we can slow the climate crisis. I learned to squat to shit back in the 1970s instead of sitting on a toilet seat. Our ancestors all over the world for thousands of years would squat to shit. And many animals squat to shit. Squatting gives our colon a straight shot to release our shit. Sitting to shit can be one cause of constipation, colon cancer, and hemorrhoids. When using a toilet stool, if you're able, lift the seat on the stool and perch your feet on the rim of the toilet bowl. If you cannot physically do that, sit on the seat, bend your legs, and pull your feet close to your ass on the seat. And if you physically cannot do that, put something the same height in front of the toilet stool, bend your legs, and put your feet on that. Sitting to shit often leaves some shit in the colon, causing low energy, fatigue, and bloating. And instead of toilet paper, I have used small wet cloths for years. And 5 good reasons. Wet cloths clean better. Wet cloths feel better. Wet cloths save money. Wet cloths save trees. Wet cloths save paper. And I reuse these wet cloths. I rinse them out and use them again and again, many times. I eat no processed vegetable oils. No flax oil, no corn oil, no canola oil, no soybean oil, no olive oil, no peanut oil. Processing vegetable oils often takes good stuff out, especially fiber. Processing vegetable oils often adds bad stuff and heats to high temperature, destroying certain nutrients. I eat no processed vegetable oils. Eat the whole plant food, preferably raw, preferably organic. I blend flax seed before eating it in my smoothies. I blend raw pumpkin seeds in my smoothies. I do not eat olive oil, but I sometimes use extra virgin cold-pressed olive oil on my skin. Extra virgin cold-pressed olive oil is a good sex lubricant for fucking. Usually, the more processed a food is, the more you pay and the less you get in nutrition. If you suffer depression, get enough sleep every night, 7 to 9 hours, no exceptions. If you suffer depression, eat only healthy food. No crap, no sugar shit, no factory fake food, no McDonald's, nothing with artificial sweeteners, no sodas. If you suffer depression, drink no booze. Booze depresses. If you suffer depression, spend time in the sunshine most days, exposing most or all of your skin to the sun. Sunshine can lift our mood. And if you're not used to it, start with a few minutes and gradually lengthen, exposing most or all of your skin. And I enjoy, in the winter, in a small protected spot in our backyard, sunbathing naked for an hour or 2 or more. To me, it's a wonderful, simple, natural, free pleasure if there are no clouds and no wind, just sunshine on winter days. If you suffer depression, if you're able, take long walks most days outside in nature. Do other exercises. Fall in love with making your body healthy. It's the only one I'll ever have, you'll ever have. If you suffer depression, forgive yourself. Forgive others. If you suffer depression, apologize to people you have hurt and wronged. If you suffer depression, reach out to others to listen and to care. If you suffer depression, make some close friendships. If you suffer depression, hug warmly every day people who enjoy your hugs. I weigh less now than when I was in high school 60 years ago. Then I weighed 140 to 145. Now I weigh 118 to 130 pounds. We do not have to put on pounds and get fat as we grow older. I hate to think how fat, how out of shape I might have become if I had not stopped eating the sugar shit and other crap I ate back then. And I might have died years ago from that crap that I ate as a kid and in my 20s. I eat only healthy, raw plant foods, plus raw honey and bee pollen. I know of a man who lost 130 pounds when he switched to eating only raw plant foods. I stopped cooking my food 25 years ago. If you want to lose fat, switch to only raw plant foods. You will lose fat. The French explorer Pierre Liet, after 4 years of living among the Illinois Indians, said in 1702, over 300 years ago, this French explorer said the sin of sodomy, which is sex between men, prevails more among them than in any other nation. And sadly, this French explorer thought that men giving each other sexual pleasure was sin. How crazy. This French explorer, what he missed in life, because he thought that the Illinois Indians, who had much sex between men, were wrong and were committing sin. How crazy. He probably thought he was civilized because he preferred violence instead of sexual pleasure between men. I strongly thank Mark, Eddie, Travis, who have given me their excellent help many dozens of times for this program, running the controls, running the cameras. And I welcome you to stop me on the street and talk with me if you want to. I love personal questions. I treasure heart-to-heart conversations. And if you want to talk with me by phone, call Channel 27 and ask them to give you my telephone number. My fresh piss to my health and to your health. Thank you.
Live every day as if it were the last, because before you know it, time goes past and life's just not that long. Tell all you love that you love them so, because even if you do, they might not know, and one day we'll all be gone. Taste the wind, don't let it blow on by. Sing songs of love, let the music get you high.